The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
This is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. When his mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found with child through the Holy Spirit. Joseph, her husband, since he was a righteous man, yet unwilling to expose her to shame, decided to divorce her quietly. Such was his intention, when behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary, your wife, into your home, for it is through the Holy Spirit that this child has been conceived in her. She will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel," which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke, he did as the angel of the Lord had commanded him, and took his wife into his home. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Depending on how you look at it, Christmas is about many different things. Of course, from our perspective, as Christians, it is about the birth of Jesus. From the world's perspective, it's about spending lots and lots and lots of money to make all the retailers happy at this time of year. But no matter what your perspective on it, whether it's a religious or a secular perspective, it's very clear from traditions and even from advertisements that Christmas is all about family. There are a couple of modern carols that deal with that. Christmas is for the family. I'll be home for Christmas. You look at a lot of the pictures of Christmas, families gathering around the Christmas tree, families gathering around the table for dinner. There's an ad on television now, I think it's for Bass Pro Shops. You know, what mother in the world can withstand a homemade ornament? So come to Bass Pro Shops and make homemade ornaments for your mom. Christmas is about family, about being with family, about being surrounded by family. And whether it's blood family or adopted family or chosen family, it's about family nonetheless. The six Paulists, the six of us here, will be with our chosen family. We'll be together on Christmas Day. Father Brad and I are cooking, and Father G's going to do some cooking too, and we're going to sit around, and we're going to light the fire in the, a gas fire, but a fire nonetheless, in the living room, and have a nice dinner and share presents and stuff. And so we too will be with family. What we have in the gospel today is family. This is the Annunciation to Joseph. Luke has the Annunciation to Mary, and we're much more familiar with that one. But for Matthew, it's the Annunciation to Joseph. And this passage follows immediately after the introduction to Matthew's Gospel, which is the genealogy of Jesus. The 42 generations that preceded Jesus, beginning at Abraham, going through David, going through Jesus. And all of that because Matthew wanted us to understand that Jesus was being born as a human being into a family just like ours. You know, there are a lot of stories, and I often say this when I teach scriptures. There are lots of stories in mythology about gods coming to visit the earth. And they'll come down as kings, they'll come down as princes, they'll come down as animals, they'll come down as all sorts of things. But they're always set aside, they're always special. But not our God. When our God chose to come down and be one with us, he chose to be one with us, being born into a human family. The family and the house of David. And what is important in here is Joseph's acceptance of Mary as his wife and Jesus as his son, because it is through Joseph that Jesus gets his family. In Jesus' days, your heritage came through your father. So to be part of the lineage of David, to be part of Abraham's family, to be part of David's family, Joseph had to accept Mary as his wife and Jesus as his son. And in doing that, he allowed Jesus to be born as one of us into a real human family. And it was a real human family. You know, we often get the pictures of the Holy Family like we have up on the window there with all of the halos around them and Jesus being real pious and all of this other stuff. We know, however, that Jesus' family was real. When we look at the genealogy of Jesus that Matthew gives us in the section right before this gospel, that's a real family. There are some real heroes in that family, and there are some real black sheep in that family. There are some great, pious, and holy men in that family, and there are some real stinkers in that family. Some of the worst of the kings of Israel are found in that genealogy, as are some of the wisest and the best of the kings of Israel found in that family of Jesus. Jesus' family is just like ours. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, just like ours. But what is important, too, for us today, 2,000 years later, is that Jesus' family continues in us. Jesus' family didn't cease to exist 2,000 years ago. Jesus wasn't just born into a little family of Mary and Joseph and himself, and aunts and uncles and grandparents and all that stuff. We continue to be God's family. We continue to be brothers and sisters to Jesus. But what is important today, just as it was 2,000 years ago for Mary and for Joseph to say yes to God's invitation to be his family, so too we must say yes to God's invitation to be his family. It's not something that comes automatically. It's not something to be presumed. Even though we are baptized in the Lord, which automatically makes us family of Jesus, we still have to say yes. We still have to acknowledge. How many families, of course, nobody here in this wonderful holy congregation would ever this happen to, but how many here know of families where people are estranged, where people have abandoned their families, or worse yet, people have been thrown out of their families? We no longer acknowledge this person or that person. I'll never go back to my family again. I have no family as far as I'm concerned. Family is not just an accident of birth. Family is also a conscious decision.